trade, you know?
Well, with that happening again, I ask you, it brings me back to a question that I asked you. How long before, if you hit somebody over and over and over again, and if you steal from somebody over and over and over again, and if you lie to somebody and lie on somebody over and over and over again, how long before that pushback comes? Like in the Middle East area, where it's a tinderbox over there with them assassinating high-ranking Iranian officials, and also attacking Syria, which is bound by a defense treaty with Iran, which I don't know why they didn't activate it, but it's bound by a defense treaty with Iran. How long before too much is enough and they say no more and they go right back at the U.S.? Because if you're on the battlefield and your cities are being destroyed, and if you're already losing people daily through sanctions and through war and through assassinations, and your economy is being assaulted, that is war in itself. So how long before they get fed up and say, you know what, assassinated this person, that's it, we're gonna go in, we're gonna show them what we're gonna do, and whatever it is, let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah, no, hey, look, if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be as you say, the U.S. wouldn't ever put up with any of that bullshit. There's no question about it. Well, look what we did in Afghanistan, and then we fabricated a pack of lies about Iraq. I mean, so the warmongers in Washington, they don't, they do exactly what you say. They don't give a shit about nothing. But just like in Russia, in Iran, you got factions in Iran as well. You got those who want to negotiate, the Iran, a nuclear deal, and say, hey, look, maybe now that Biden's gonna be in, and maybe we can re-up this this nuclear deal, and let's hold off, and blah blah blah. There's always going to be those forces that are going to try to dampen down the more sort of aggressive instincts that people would have. You're being attacked, you want to counterattack, but the thing is, obviously there are other forces involved that put the brakes on that. Well, what can you say? Now, China's in a position where it really doesn't need to, follow that strategy any longer. Maybe, oops, I got something popped up here.
Let me stop you for 1 second about China. We'll talk, because I do want to address China, but I want to go back to this Iran thing, because the tensions are bubbling and they're boiling over. And the reason I put this up on the screen right here.
Oh, okay. Now you put that up there.
Yeah, I put that up on the screen right there. And this was Wesley Clark, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. This is the guy, remember, this is the guy who wanted to bomb Russia when Russian troops went into Kosovo and went into the former Yugoslavia when America was bombing them. Remember, he said bomb them, and it was a British general that refused to enact that order. But my point is this: he said global warfare. He said we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. Now, my point is this: they balkanized Sudan.
Right.
In Somalia with bases. They've gone in there under false pretenses.
Right.
They've balkanized and destroyed the most prosperous nation on the Mediterranean, which was Libya. Remember, they used a false flag operation to put pressure on Syria to pull its forces out of Lebanon, so that they can have a freer hand in Lebanon for Israel and for U.S. forces. They have destroyed and occupied Iraq, and now they're in Syria. They're in Syria. The only country left on this list that has not been occupied by or destroyed by America, and this is a plan that was announced by the former Supreme NATO Allied Commander and a high general, a four-star general in the U.S. military, Wesley Clark. And he says that those 7 nations, including Iran, were to be bombed. And Cheney said some people go to Iraq, but real men go to Tehran, meaning making war on Iran. If you have all the evidence out here that you the other nations are just passing by fruit, but you are the tree that they want to chop down.
Right, right. No, I agree with you, and I'm very familiar with this this General Wesley Clark's prediction. I mean, I've known about that for since he first came out with it, and it's been shown to be the case. But Iran is a tough nut to crack.
Right.
I mean, you look at Iraq and Syria and these others, they're basically chicken feed compared to Iran. Iran is a world power, so to speak, and I think the U.S. is much more hesitant to take Iran on directly, other than, what they did with these other nations, which, given our, superiority in arms and logistics and all of that, it's more or less of a cakewalk, even though Iraq was more than, we bit off more than we could chew there, and in Afghanistan, right? So it's, and even Syria, it's not been, a cakewalk, so to speak, for us. There's been a lot of blowback for our adventures in these countries, particularly Iraq, Afghanistan, and to an extent in Syria. So, we're not in a position to try to engage Iran in that same fashion. Iran has a vast standing army. They're more or less economically self-sufficient because of all the sanctions we've imposed. One thing about sanctions, it's a double-edged sword. Like the sanctions that are being applied against both Russia and China, it leads to them becoming much more self-sufficient and less, vulnerable to, U.S., actions, right? And that makes them more self-assured and powerful in their own right. So, I don't see the U.S. at this point, wanting to engage Iran or Russia or China in a hot war, basically because I think they'd lose.